Thank you. Today we are launching the Art Settlers of New York, a very special program that is being introduced here at Manhattan Neighborhood Network, where we will be highlighting all artists, visual artists, performing artists, which include musicians, composers, our poets, and our writers, art critics, all living in New York. The reason we chose the word settler is because there is a magical and unique experience in how you become a New Yorker. Some of us have been fortunate to have been born here, raised here, and we consider ourselves native New Yorkers. But there are others who come from all places around the world and considered immigrants, or are considered migrants because they come from the different 50 states and our territories. As far away as Washington State, Florida, Texas, Puerto Rico, the US Virgin Islands, as far away as Macedonia, Nigeria, France, China, Japan, and yet we come to New York and we settle here. And some of us, although we may yearn for our homeland or our home state, we remember fondly, but yet there is something that makes us take roots, permanent roots in New York. And the program is about that. We are honored to also be celebrating Dominican Heritage Month, which is celebrated in the month of February. It is the celebration of one of the Independence Days of the Dominican Republic, February 27, when the Dominican Republic became a republic in 1844. As many of you know also, we have a Dominican Day Parade, which is in August. Yes. Dominicans love to party, we love to sing, we love to dance, and everyone is Dominican in August when we celebrate August 16. But today we are in the month of February, and we are, again, so honored to have two sisters whose experience in settling in New York is not a typical one. And yet they are different in that they are both, although they are both each other's biggest fans, as visual artists, they have excelled in New York. And we're going to talk about that with Scheherazade and Ileana Emilia. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. And they want to also say something special to our studio audience and to our television audience. And don't be nervous, you are only going to be watched by millions across the world.
Yeah.
In Manhattan, but around the world, Manhattan Neighborhood Network is streamed live on the internet, mnn.org, mnn.org. Welcome, Ileana.
Oh, thank you, Ronnie. And thank you, everybody here. I mean, it's a pleasure and it's a big honor, actually, to be invited, especially because, I mean, I'm Dominican. I'm always going to be Dominican. And I am New Yorker, too. So I have my two loves together right now here. So I have a lot to talk about in that sense. I want to thank Manhattan Neighborhood Network for the opportunity, especially Zenaida, who is actually a pioneer in this. And I really thank her for her dedication, contribution to the Dominican community and to the women's movement, because, you know, it's not easy, but she does it. And she's always, you know, everywhere. I see her everywhere, all the activities, important activities. And I actually also value her values. So thank you. And thank you to all of you for taking the time. I hope you don't get bored. And we
I don't think so, Scheherazade.
I don't think I can agree more with you. So definitely thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for the invitation. I mean, one of the things I love is exactly this, the celebration of our community, but also the community that is beyond the Dominican communities, the New York community. I always say that I am Caribbean, but then I am in New York and I love New York so much, and then I love the Lebanese one here, the Chinese over there, and I am, like Zenaida says, internationalist. But thank you so much. It's such an honor. I feel humble because I am so proud of the Dominican community in New York. And then to be representing this community, for me, is such an honor. So thank you.
And thank you. And we also want to acknowledge some of the artists and community activists who are here in our studio audience, which include the printmakers of the Rafael Tufino printmaking workshop here in East Harlem, del Taller Boricua, Jorge Mendocino Mendoza, Eliezer Berrios, Nitza Tufino, Minerva Gonzalez. Some of our Dominican artists, and we are having a conjunction art exhibit with Moses Ross Suarez. I also want to acknowledge Rodriguez Calero, Maria Dominguez, Ilka Mateo, Mary Gautreau, who is our cultural godmother in New York City, Mario Tavares, René de los Santos, Candy Nairobi, Taina Travieso, who is the official mayor of East Harlem, Roberto Dandorov, and William Vasquez. Thank you all for being here. What we wanted to do was provide a snapshot. It would take many hours to describe the incredible work and the lives of these two women who honor us with their presence. We can, in fact, perhaps do a film in the future, you know, and that's something that could be discussed. But definitely, we will try to provide a snapshot and to speak about their work and what is the basis and the foundation of their work. Today, we will be discussing migration, community, and salvation, which is reflected in their work, in the chairs of Emilia, and the magic of Sheresade and her community activism. And what we will be doing first is providing a brief synopsis of their life experience. And what I would like to ask before we go into the photographs that we want to show, I would like to for both of you to share how it was growing up as artists in your family. Sheresade?
One thing that we discuss a lot when people ask us about that we are both artists and our kids, even though I want them to be bankers, they're gonna be artists. We were in a family where it was accepted, it was encouraged to be in the arts. Let's put it this way. I remember that when we were growing up in the times of there was always problems with electricity. So my mother used to play the piano. We would sing with her, talk about the composer. And then my sister with my cousins, we would organize plays. And I would do all the big murals for the plays. We'll invite everybody. That was part of our life. And I feel very grateful about that freedom. And I think about that all the time, how lucky we were.
Yep.
Because also we were very different, Iliana and I, and sometimes that was also celebrated in our house.
Yeah, I mean, the thing was that I didn't really think too much about it until someone asked me about it, because it was normal to be the way that we were. It was normal to solve everything visually. It was normal to build something to show what was, one went to do. And our cousins also were in theater. So basically we were either writing, painting, dancing. One will take care of the music, another will take off. Sheresade would take all of the murals. She was in charge of that. Yeah. Another would take care of the fashions. We were basically, that was the normal being. So the fact that when we had one cousin who couldn't do anything, the poor thing suffered through her childhood because she would say, but I don't know how to do it. I said, don't worry, we'll teach you. But it was the normal thing. So basically I am very grateful because, I don't know, I guess I was one thing that everybody was. So I feel that I belong very early to where I came from in that sense. So. And
one thing that it gives you an idea of a very important part of my life is like my mother, for example. We were always, we had the budget to do this, the budget to do that. There was always budget for books. There was always budget for that kind of thing, but we couldn't have too much because they didn't believe in that. And for example, once I remember I was doing my big murals for one of the plays, and all of a sudden we couldn't get brushes because the brushes were destroyed. My mother did not worry about that. She said, you can make it. And that's exactly what I did. I cut the hair of all my dolls. I used some sticks from the backyard, and became one of very nice Dominican-made brushes.
And what we'd like at this time is to start showing the first photo of the sisters in the Dominican Republic. There they are. And the taller one is Sherazade
At the time.
at the time, and Ileana Emilia. Can we have the next slide, please? The next photo. Why don't you explain this photo to
Well,
us?
that picture was taken in San Cristobal. The three ladies in the back are my grandmother in the center, Guarina Jarenville, and my godmother, Maria Mencia Catalina, who used to have, actually, we have the pencil sharpener collection, the biggest in the Caribbean. And on the far left is Dominicana Jarenville, who was actually an artist, definitely. That woman could do anything with her hands. And actually, she will be the one helping us getting some solutions, especially with this sewing machine.
Yes.
And in the bottom is me on the right with shorts standing up, Sherazade in the center sitting, and my cousin Ilonka, who is actually used to be a graphic designer and actually live in Puerto Rico now, and is also involved in the arts.
Great.
And that's in San Cristobal, actually. That was the family house.
And we spent lots of time over there because we have this little area where the collection was, and it was called La Salita, the little hall. And La Salita was the place that we could do whatever. So then we were sure, making sure that every weekend we will get together with the cousins there.
That was the backstage.
That was the best section.
Yeah.
Can we have the next photo?
That was a Mother's Day, also in San Cristobal, and me giving my mother a painting as a present, and my sister playing with something we don't know. But we're always a team, Ileana and I. I just couldn't wait for Ileana to grow up because I wanted to play and do things. So good thing that we were like
got
that.
along,
We just
yeah.
got along like that.
What, can you have the next photo, please?
That's called the women of the family. That's my mother, Sherazade, and me with our kids, Montserrat, Gabby, and Catalina. That's what, like 10 years ago, maybe? They have grown since then.
And they're here, and you will
They
meet
are
them
here,
later.
actually.
And you will meet them later.
Yeah.
Can we have the next one?
That photograph was maybe 1989 or 1990. It was exactly when I graduated at Parsons. I had my first job. Ileana was already at Parsons studying, and we got our first apartment. My parents came, and we just took a photograph at the South Street Seaport. And that time was like such a wonderful time, and it really portrayed that time specifically.
Okay, so we will get right to their artistic career here in New York as settlers. And both of them started their education in the Altos de Chabón in La Romana. And then from there, both of you received scholarships to come to New York and then conclude their bachelor's at the Parsons School of Design here in New York. And during that time, Sherazade met her husband, who's an international photographer, William Vasquez. And years later, Ileana was able to encounter at an art gallery in New York her husband, who is also an artist, Robert Dandroff. They have beautiful daughters.
Thank you.
And one of the things that among sisters is just that they are also best friends, but yet they're, as we will notice, is that the way that they embrace the art they create is different, but yet there is something similar. And we're going to start with Ileana, and I just want you to know also that Ileana is a poet, and I think it's not a coincidence that we're actually celebrating this during the month of February, which as we just celebrated Valentine's Day. And doing research about these two extraordinary women, I came upon something that Ileana wrote. And I think it's very appropriate. And I asked my television audience to please stay with me. Don't change the channel. And you may understand this, and it will be in Spanish. And this is about February 14. Vivo en un febrero eterno, donde todos los días son 14. Vivo con el Caribe a rastros, con la felicidad de cómplice. Vivo en un estado de locura sana y en una sanidad fantástica. Sueño con los ojos abiertos, duermo con el corazón arropado. Hablo con mis manos, escucho con los ojos y escribo con palabras transparentes. Veo mucho, hablo poco, escucho bastante y sueño lo suficiente como para considerar a la noche mágica y el sol milagroso. Solo vivo por el alimento de mi alma que no me deja morir. Vivo en un febrero eterno donde todos los días son 14. What an incredible poet.
I love it.
What an incredible poet. Ileana has selected a particular object, and it has to do with a simple object, definitely an object that perhaps we take for granted, but yet we will explore the essence of this object, which are her chairs. We had wanted to also have with us today Dr. Edward Sullivan, and he could not come, but I just want to read to you quickly what has been written by Dr. Sullivan about Ileana's work. Ileana, in this particular exhibit called Chosen Hearts, and is obviously an eternal romantic, not only creates with her words, but with her hands, these marvelous chairs. And if we can start having Ileana's photos on the screen. What he writes about her is that she employs one of the most Quatonian of objects, the chair, and imbues it with imitations of both strength and fragility. The chair itself becomes an iconic form which takes on a plethora of meanings. As related to tradition and visual history, the image of the chair can be conceived of as a simple seat or as a throne, as a support for the most humble of human creatures, or as a structure on which an emperor or a god may rest. Ileana, tell us about your fascination with chairs.
Thank you, Ronnie. Actually, I haven't read that poem for the longest time, so it sounds completely different when you read it. And it's funny because usually I read it, but thank you, actually. I wish I would have like a crazy story to tell about these chairs because there's nothing magical about it. It's very simple. The chair is an object that is, as you say, we all have it. It has been, known through history. It's a symbol of power. It's a symbol of status. It's also a sign of community because when people get together, they sit. And also collaboration. And I just don't love the shape. It's just basically, it represents, it's like my star and it will be like making a portrait. Instead of making a human, I make a chair because it will actually, I will reach more because actually it is a presence, what I wanted to show. And the object has let me dress it up anytime I want. It has let me make a story and choose the star. And I'm basically the director in this script. I basically use two different shirts. A very basic one, that is the one that I dress up and I make up the whole the history. I just actually create a character, or I use the Dominican shirt. And in that one, I don't create a character and I don't actually make up the story. It has the story itself. And in that case, it's a collaboration that I have with a little object that was made by someone else and that has already a tradition to it. So the work is deeper in many sense and I use it more carefully. The other ones, I can do whatever I want. With those ones, that one, for example, is one of the first paintings that I did for my first exhibition in Dominican Republic. And it actually shows a lot of what I'm doing right now with the black and white. But it's always been a portrait of someone.
Can we have the next photo, please?
That's actually my first exhibition in La Galería Novo in Santo Domingo, directed by Porfirio Herrera and Nelson Ceballos. One of the most important galleries in Dominican Republic. That will be the place to start your career. He will be the one who will actually give you the let's go. And that will be the beginning.
So he's your mentor. Our next photo, please.
That piece actually, with the chairs, I always have the heart and the word as my main objects. They're always together. The things that the chairs usually take from a stage because they are actually the object that you can see. The heart you can always feel, and the word you can always read, if I let you read it. Sometimes it's impossible to read what I write, but I know.
The next photo, please.
That's actually the first installation really that I am conscious that I did, and it was called I Dress Up as an Island, and I did it for Leonora Vega Gallery in New York. And that's actually when I started working with the Dominicanness, the fact that I'm an island, personally, as a person, and we are all islands, and we live in this sea that is New York.
And that is a very important gallery in your life.
Very important. That's the first Dominican gallery in New York, and Leonora was another mentor. She basically opened the doors of so many people.
And what happened at that gallery?
I met my husband in that gallery.
Yes.
Also, it's her fault, but anyways, a good fault. Definitely
The
super
next
important.
photo, please.
That piece actually is shown in the Taller Boricua. It's called Bread and Water. Super important when I'm talking about like what is going to sustain me, and that will be the physical things to sustain me, water and bread.
And let's have the next photo.
Big installation that I did, you can even see the I Dress Up as an Island in the center. It was called One Last Sitting, and it was in Hostos Community College, my first actually solo show in New York. And it's about, again, personalities, history. I took the Last Supper in no religious way, and I make up my own stories and actually kind of describe each apostle my own way.
And our studio audience, as well as our television audience, can actually go to Ileana Amelia's website and learn about her exhibits, her awards at ileanaamelia.com. And now we're going to be turning to the magic of Scheherazade and her community activism. And let me just briefly read about Scheherazade Garcia, who oscillates between several poles and functions on a variety of aesthetic and political planes. She has progressed beyond painting into areas that include installation, book arts, as well as video and computer-generated images. If we were to look at her career over the years, this Dominican-born New York artist has emerged as someone intimately familiar with the complex varieties of strategies employed by a wide swath of contemporary artists, yet at the same time someone who appropriates form and transforms historical references and sources of inspiration. We are in the presence of two sisters who have been definitely gifted, and it is humbling for just to sit with you, frankly.
Thank you.
Because I think that you make the Dominican community proud here in New York. You are jewels in our crown in New York. Thank you, Scheherazade, for being here.
Thank you.
And being such a good sister as well. And Scheherazade has done incredible activism work, not only here in New York with her sister and a group of also Dominican York artists as printmakers, but specifically, I want you to speak about your work with Los Sabanas de la Mar and the importance of that and how that in effect transcends not so much the experience of so many of Dominicans or Cubans who take on the challenge of crossing an ocean at the risk of losing their lives. And if we can have the first photo, please, while Scheherazade explains, how did you get into the
arts? Yeah. Well, that one over there, I remember like yesterday. I was 7. I had a business in this school. I always had money. And it was because if you needed any cover for your books, I will be there and I will make it. So I got a lot of attention also for doing other things in theater. And I got to be interviewed for the first time. And Daddy says, Niña pintora muestra talento de excepción. To this day, I am very like shy about that, but I appreciate that.
The next photo, please.
That was the first time I got the first prize for painting, and the tall guy in the far left, right, he was the famous painter Elias Delgado, who also was the director of one of the first Montessori schools in the capital. And many of those guys over there that are in the back, they are now professional artists in my country. So I am blessed to be next to a lot of people that are still part of my community.
Can we move forward and bring the photograph of a life vest
Yeah.
or a lifesaver?
Okay. Okay, hi there. No, let's start with that one. The lightsaber, I am fascinated by people. I am fascinated by the idea that I come from an island and I came to another island. I also fascinated by the idea and the feeling that I feel so much at home so many places, and how I feel very Caribbean, but I am definitely very international in my ways. I love New York because all the flavors in every block. So fascinated by history, and I was always in love with history, and perfect name that I have, storyteller. I was, very concerned about the bravery of people that have to cross frontiers, especially water frontiers, to get to one place to another. And I always thought, as a Caribbean, I am from an island, I am surrounded by water. So I start developing these pieces that were a spiritual salvation. That's why they have these lightsabers, have these images of always black Catholic angels. And the idea of something that floats, that can't really survive the ocean, as a practical salvation, as I call it. That was 1998 and 1999, and in 2006, El Museo del Barrio acquired that piece for the permanent collection. I didn't stop my work over there with the salvation and the endless loss of I call it. There is another one.
Next photo, please.
Then I started developing also. They were the inner tubes, and the inner tubes and the life jackets, they really, are my muses in a way, to really portray and tell the stories of the immigrants. And this one specifically, it was a multimedia with video, and also the inner tubes, they are made out of wood. And it's the concept that I have in my mind that you want to be something else. For example, in the case of Pinocchio wanted to be a boy. Or in the case of my inner tubes that are made of plastic, they want to be boats. So I start using the politics of color. As a woman, I love the tool of beauty, and how people underestimate the tool of beauty. So I always engage with beauty, and then I complicate your life with a deeper conversation. So every time I talk about a very, very painful, and where you need a lot of bravery, I start using colors like people like to portray of weak, pink. Oh, it's a baby girl, it's so cute. So you don't know what you're talking about. It's this idea, the politics of these colors, and to give it another voice because the subject I am talking about.
Can you share with us what the color blue stands
Blue
for?
always has to do with the ocean, but you're going to see also how I'm going to make the ocean gray, and it has to do with another series of gray seas, and it has to do with the idea that everything is relative. Nothing is black. Nothing is white. Everything is in between. And also the idea that a gray can be is relative, so it's everything between, but that doesn't mean that every experience is unique. So I use that also as a politic.
How did you get into muralism?
Typical, very small person. We have my Napoleonic complexes, but I am very physical. When I think about painting, it's very interesting. I am very intellectual in my ways. I read a lot, I listen a lot, and I take a lot of information, I research a lot. Then I paint with my gut. but I do need to be physical. I need that it's like everything together. It's like an orchestra. It needs everything. So that's why I need to use bigger spaces.
And remember that we used to do murals with Nidia Serra.
Also, yes, yeah, we
When
were
we were small.
lucky enough to meet Elias Delgado, the professor that you saw over there, also the fabulous painter Nidia Serra, who was a muralist, also worked with Bella Zanetti and Milan Loda and all those people. But Nidia Serra used to take me and Iliana and Raúl Recio to basically paint murals for the
Feria del
festivals.
Libro.
La Feria del Libro, book festivals in Dominican.
And also, we also even did for the Arlequín in the Teatro Nacional when we were really small, all the scenography for that.
Yeah,
That was a good training to doing your
Yep.
plays, your family plays.
Yeah, exactly.
No, yeah,
and it was such
You
a
had
joy
experience.
because I love music. Iliana plays piano, and so we were like, this is exactly what we love. This is what we're gonna be when we grow up.
Your parents are also exceptional. The daughters of a well-known engineer in the Dominican Republic, Reginald Garcia, and your mother, who was a very, very special woman. Talk to us about your mother and the impact that she had, and how she nurtured both of you as artists.
Well, Mama, comes from a very strong family of women, and I think that was key. And she comes from a family of teachers, and they always break in the rules of everything that has to be with the regular teaching. Like I said before, my mother was about like, oh, they teach you this way, or I'm gonna teach you the other way. She was always trying different things, and I think she was key because she gave us so much freedom. And for my mother also was very important to take us to everything that was happening in our island, to make us proud of being Dominican. So if we are proud and you love where you come from, you can love anything. You can love everybody because you feel secure. And I feel that Mama, was super important for all of us. I mean, for her relationship as well.
No, she was also very artistic. She wrote beautifully.
Yes.
She played the piano definitely better, amazingly. And she was just a very free spirit who has many rules.
Yes.
You could do whatever you want. Don't destroy it. Use your hands for good things. And she didn't believe like in coloring books. There was no way to have a coloring book in the house.
Couldn't have that.
If you want an image, you make it. And if you like it so much, make it again and again and again, and you draw and you paint it. And it was, she wanted to be an engineer, and she decided to be a stay-home mom because she wanted to be with us. And that's what we got. We got a full-time colleague that actually, said yes to many things.
And also one thing that was important in our house was like Papa, Mama are a team. Very different people. They argue and believe in very different things. And they have very special way to do things. And my father always respected my mother in the thing that my mother felt it was important. And also there was always paper, markers, everything that it was for making in our house.
I want to ask you, Sherzad, about the situation with those who are crossing or attempting to cross the different waters, particularly from the Dominican Republic and to Puerto Rico, and your work with those individuals. And I know that there's a photo.
You can see, there are two
I think it's in
photos.
this one.
This one.
Yeah.
It basically was a continuation of those projects that I did with in 1999 with the lightsabers. But there is a part of me too that it is about, like I said to you before, I am very physical about these big paintings and the feeling of painting. But also I am somebody that likes people, and I like to engage people. And I don't care about having difficult conversations. If I think I'm gonna find a solution or I'm going to be an agent of change, I will be a shark and just go for it. And in that case, I started developing that piece, and I went to Sabana de la Mar, and that I developed with the scholar Alana Lockwar, and we basically fabricated life jackets in the area of Sabana de la Mar. Sabana de la Mar is this little town that became, and still sometimes is, because now there are other places, like an airport, illegal airport, for people that go illegally to Puerto Rico. And then we went there, and I started interviewing people from the town. Everybody became very, secretive. I didn't want to tell any stories, but at the end, by really working and making sure they could trust me, and I got great stories. So then doing that factory, I gave people lightsabers that we made using materials I found in town, except for my umbrella fabric that was pink. Okay, but I made sure they understood and they could use the umbrella fabric from any umbrella. And then that fun that floats and they used to keep the beer in Santo Domingo very cold.
The coolers.
The cooler. So that's always something like that over there, so they will find it. So then I interviewed them, and then when they were telling me the stories, the people that experienced the trip or that they lost loving family, beloved family in those trips, I will make drawings on top, like they cater to their stories. And then that took us to other projects like this, the One Paradise Redefined, that is about the Dominicans in New York. So everything is about people and their experiences.
One of the things that is of interest is being the mothers of the first generation. How do you feel about young artists now who are in their teens, in their 20s, trying to make it as artists in New York?
I am fortunate enough to be now part of the faculty of Parsons, the New School for Design, which puts me not only in contact with the school that I love, but also with the new generation. And I always, like everything, they have to be in their times. I am always very hopeful about the new generation, and I do feel like they prepare for many things, and they are going to confront a lot of issues that we didn't have to confront.
Such as?
Sustainability. We have to save the planet. We have to be more conscious, and we have to also, and this is a rule I have for any time. Run away from trends, from fashions, for groups that want to make you into a little groups of niches and dogmas. I feel like we have to give people the freedom to think by themselves. You guide them. You don't make them part of a leader propaganda. Because what you do then is that then you take away the wings. I feel like this generation, if we give them the information of what they need with all the tools we have, and they learn how to respect experience, because this is an issue we have in this celebration of the youth all the time, like everything new is perfect. When the new is informed by the past, and then that's how we can understand maybe the future. If we are able to make sure those wings, we prepare them to be really able to bloom and fly, then we are perfect. But then it's a responsibility that is on us. So it's not only the younger generation, no. We have to guide the new generation to make sure they don't fall into these crazy dogmas. That things are not so simple.
Ileana, how do you feel in raising your daughter
Well, I
in
really
this
think,
environment?
but it is a good environment. It's not that bad.
No.
There's a lot of things that are good, and as always, there's a good things that are not that good. It's the same thing is with our generation, just different. Let's just say I was saying, just different worries. But I always tell them that to the young people, they have to be truthful to themselves, because that will be the only way to be truthful with other people. And also to be very proud that they're coming from another history, because the only way that you can actually move forward is just knowing exactly what happened before, and to be proud of it, because there is nothing wrong with history. There's nothing wrong with what happened. And it's not your fault if someone did something that you are not proud of. It's part of your history, and you just have to keep walking. And just basically tell the truth, because the moment that you start tweaking or adding, over preparing yourself for other stuff, you become a fake. And you become someone that is always going to have this shadow over your head. And being an artist and a human, life is too short to be having so many baggage in your bag. So that's how I always tell people, just be truthful. I mean, whatever you have is what it is, and it's good.
So having being in New York, and New York is comprised of whether it's downstate or upstate, but so many different communities, so many different nationalities. How has it been for you raising your daughter in a bicultural environment with having bicultural parents?
Well, it's a challenge sometimes, especially because in New York, when you're a New Yorker, you're from everywhere. So sometimes, it's like little things like you have to say, oh my God, no, that's a Dominican thing, or that's a Macedonian thing. And I am being very specific when I tell her, like, I like to celebrate every holiday, especially the Macedonian holidays that she doesn't visit often, and the Dominican holidays. And I try to, all the traditions that I had when I was growing up, is like emphasized with her.
Yes.
And it's not because I want to make you crazy, it's because it happens that in New York we have so much, and we live everywhere, that sometimes you feel like you don't disconnect yourself, but you are everywhere at the same time, and sometimes you cannot multitask that way. So I'm actually more conscious when I actually with her about, okay, this is what it is, this is what I mean, that's what it means for me, and this is what I used to do. And for me, it's extremely important for her to have relationship with the grandparents. As often as I can, I take it with my grandmother and her grandfather to try to speak Spanish and just live the life at least that I left, because then she has a better idea. The same thing with her father, because it is a lot for a little person to carry. And you know what, given there's so much baggage, good baggage, but that I understand that it's a lot. And it's very easy for them to kind of like, walk away because, oh my God, this is. But it's a beautiful problem, because basically what it is just, it's the whole world in one place.
And you are the mother of a Dominiqueña.
Very, very proud. I am Puerto Rican by association, as you know. And William is Dominican by association. And one of the things I love the most about being Caribbean, so we is not that different, but one of the experiences that we both have with our kids is like, even for the parties, the Christmas parties and all that, the kids, they don't, invite kids to the house, and it's like, oh no, so-and-so doesn't celebrate this. Oh no, we had to go to the Jewish holidays. And it becomes so beautiful, and they kind of so like understanding of everybody, and I love that. And I think that's such a gift.
It's what I want to just have you share an experience with your daughter in the Dominican Republic, and how at such a young age of 7 that she was already aware of who was Martin Luther King at the pool.
Monty was very worried about that. Well, this is a classic, okay? Every January, I cannot finish that book of Martin Luther King because I cry. So she knows that, but she always been very involved with this idea of like, certain important people, that we talk about, and one of those is Martin Luther King. So she goes to Santo Domingo, and all of a sudden she started really paying attention. We have my father has a house in Las Terrenas, and we go there, and so everybody, it's very typical, a little bubble of Dominicans, and then there's like only 2 or 3 people that are darker. So Monty takes a look at everything, and then feels that there is something weird about it. Like it's like there's some people that are like, they cannot go to the swimming pool with the rest of the kids. Monty didn't like that. So she was like trying to understand. So she went and said to somebody, hey, so you don't know about Martin Luther King? And then she came like in tears telling me, can you believe these people don't know about Martin Luther King? We need here some kind of movement. And she was 7. And I said, oh, you're going to suffer, darling, you're going to suffer. But I was proud that she was able to really, really see it, like to bring something from a school and a big hero like that to her every day, and to really keep it closer to her.
One of the things that it would take hours of programs, to discuss some of the issues that we have in the Dominican Republic, and even here specifically in Manhattan or New York City, and it's the issue of racism and classism. But how has your art projected that, which is that I think that is important, that as Dominicans we are biracial or multiracial,
Exactly.
and yet we deny it.
Completely.
Completely. I mean, I always actually tell people that we have to be conscious that we were the first melting pot. And there is a point that when you say Dominican, it's not Dominican. It's so much involved in that Dominican that we don't even know that we cannot be
Yes.
racist. We really shouldn't be
We
even
cannot.
close to it because we have a lot that we don't even know. Even though we know, we should be proud.
And I think if we have some of the other photographs of Shehrazad's
That's Dominican York.
your virgins and your children. You
That
want to
one
explain?
specifically, yeah, of course. That one right there, the one that you see now, is the Dominican York. It was part of that big show, Paradise Redefined, that maybe is after. And it's the idea of that this cinnamon color angel is not about African American. It's about the inclusion of all the races. If you mix all the colors and you want to be inclusive, then my characters and the characters of the planet should all be cinnamon.
Can we have the next photo, please?
Yeah.
That is Paradise Redefined. That one that you saw was a preparation for that show. It was inspired by the Dominican York community. And the reason they are tents, those are little tents, and the tents are made using fabric, and I photographed the neighborhood. I went to interview the Dominicans in Washington Heights, and when you pass every one of those tents, there was an interview playing. And basically the conversation was about the expectations of life in New York before they came. And the idea of the tents, it came because every time you talk to a Dominican or a Caribbean or people from different places, they are like, everybody come here as a temporary home. And then all of a sudden, it becomes home. And then they understand later on that the city has the color that it has. It has the flavor that it has because all those people that stay, that are here. And then one of the things I did on top of those photographs of those tents was like, again, I hack with my graffiti drawings. It was a way to hack in the most loving way. You know, using symbols of my black angels, the platanos flying, combining Spanish and English, the new language that we create by having two languages and speaking the two at the same time. And then the back of the gallery was all the frontiers that we have, then the waters of somebody that comes from the island of Caribbean and the island in the center of the world, that is New York. So I am surrounded by water. Yes.
The island of Manhattan. Can
And
we
I
have the
love it.
next photo?
So you can see what I was saying. I started mixing, buildings that were typical New York, combined with the businesses that were created by the immigrants, in this case the Dominicans. Then the buildings, then completely drawing images of postcards of the ocean. Then there are others that you're gonna see that are flying bananas and stuff.
Right now, their works are being exhibited in New York and in Philadelphia, particularly an exhibition that opened last week at the Taller Puertorriqueño in Philadelphia. Could you speak about that?
Yes, there were two important things happening. The Unpacking La Española at the Taller Puertorriqueño with Fidel Levi's, and also my commission, a big mural at Columbia University called The Liquid Highways. Again, my fascination with the water, the liquid highway, the waters that take us here and take us everywhere and it makes us what we are. And then also I have an exhibition at Volta, which is part of the Almody Show, and it's March 2nd, and it's with my gallerist Lyle of Rachel.
And that's located where?
In Pier 90.
Pier 90 here in Manhattan. And you have an exhibition that's
Yes.
going on now in Brooklyn?
Yeah, right now I'm part of the exhibition Open Call for Debate in Brick in downtown Brooklyn, and it's about the political environment of the society right now with the election times. Very interesting. It's 132 artists from the Brooklyn Registry. And it's happening until February 28th, I think.
And the address is what?
It's in Fulton Street.
Fulton
and-
Street.
Fulton
Brick
Street. Brick.
Gallery, BRIC. We want to, before we close, we want to bring up the family members of the Garcia sisters who are here. And once again, we hope that you have, and will continue, you have enjoyed yourself today. And we want you to visit their websites. Again, the website is ilianaemilia.com and
Sherezad.net.
sherezad.net. Very simple. And with us, their families will stand behind them. And these are the two individuals, artists also, Robert and William. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And we would like to somehow bring you back and perhaps do a couples interview individually, especially William Vasquez, who is, as I said, an international photographer and is organizing these marvelous photography exhibits around the world. And he is from Ponce, born in New York. And as we say, Ponce, Ponce. But New York is New York.
My father would be very proud.
Yes,
Referred to me
yes.
as Ponce.
Yes.
That was his place.
Yes.
So,
And one other thing that we must acknowledge is the fact that both of you are mentors to so many future generations. And as I said, you are jewels in our crown in this community. And to your families here and your families that will be watching in the Dominican Republic, we say hello. Bendiciones para la República Dominicana. Que viva Quisqueya. Que viva Quisqueya.
Que viva Quisqueya.
Ileana, if you want to say something particularly to your mother, who has written about you, and who apparently you inherited the talent of the spoken word.
I guess I will have to blame her for that. I just want to say, I'm sure she's very happy, and both of them are very happy because I guess their happiness will be that Sherezad and I were happy, and that we look like we are doing what we want to do, and that we're actually doing what we always wanted to do, and we have been able to keep doing it and enjoying it. So I'm sure, as long as they're happy, I'm happy. So I guess it's a cash.
It's a same as receive, as I call it.
It's mutual. It's a mutual that we have. So.
And you have a special relationship with your father.
Yeah.
In terms of having being the oldest and waiting to have a little companion to play with. But your father is someone very special and someone very loved in the Dominican Republic, and you must feel so proud about him.
Thank you.
And you also have a special uncle as well that we didn't get to speak about.
Well, if I, we
We
have
have
a
more-
bunch
more-
of them.
But one in particular, you're into the ocean, but there was one who was into the sky.
This guy is
Yeah.
Zoilo Garcia.
Yeah.
He was a uncle, but a grandfather. He was a great uncle.
And
great
he
uncle.
built what?
The first airplane in Dominican Republic.
So thank you again. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you
so much. Thank you. It's like, oh my God, I feel like shy.